You ready?
Hey, listen!
Get some.
Yeah.
Hey, listen!
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to another exciting episode of Lawrence's Let's Plays. This is part one of a 5-part series I'm bringing to you of my epic tier list for all the epic heroes that represent each of the different character classes. Today I'm bringing to you Marksman. To my returning viewers, thanks so much for your continued support. If you're new to the channel, I want to thank you as well for stopping by. As always, guys, like, comment, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Nothing really left to say. My name's Lawrence and let's play. First off, I just want to preface this video with saying that I am a serious fish out of water. Certainly not as comprehensive computer-wise, so it took a while to put the spreadsheet together, so I hope you guys appreciate the time that it took for me to do that. I'm just kind of learning this as I go, learning the ropes, so to speak. You'll notice that I have not done the typical thing that most content creators do. Nothing wrong with what they're doing, but everyone seems to use the same template, which is to have a black screen, pull the image from a hero, and put them in a grade, all that good stuff. I mean, that's all well and good, but I'm trying to do something that is unique, that distinguishes my tier list from other content creators, so I'm working on something that is unique and still visually appealing for you guys. Stay tuned on that. That's a work in progress that I'm working at with my wonderful brother-in-law who's far more computer savvy than me. So as it is, what you're going to be getting is stopping at that screen. That's the tier list screen that I've put together. So let's jump into it. I'm going to spend more time on certain heroes and certainly a lot less time on other heroes. Let's jump in and you'll understand why, because they're garbage. So let's go into, not Star Piercers. We're going to go into our Marksman. So who we'll be discussing today out of the Marksman for epics is Brienne, Maul, Bruno, Thean, Idril slash Tariel, or Tariel slash Idril, Tazer, Luneria, I am including as a Lord, and Harpoon. So first off, let's jump in and talk about Bruno. Bruno's garbage. He's horrible. First thing to point out is that he is dual faction, but he's dual faction with Northerner and Infernal. The devs didn't even allow him to be Starpiercer, which he would benefit more from Luneria being his Lord. But he is straight garbage. One of the worst things is his manual ultimate at the cost of 30% decrease in attack speed, gains an extended attack range, an additional 30% attack, and the ability to, and I love how this is worded, and I'm being sarcastic, to wreak AoE damage. What kind of damage is he wreaking? An additional 30% attack on an attack that is already garbage to begin with. And why that's so important to highlight his ult is because you see he already has an attack interval of 3.5 seconds. So when he activates his ult, he also reduces his attack speed, which is so dumb. That's so unbelievably dumb. His damage is very, very meh. If you go into his awakenings, you look at A5, you have to get soul stones into him or have copies of him to reduce or to remove the penalty. Explosive shells no longer lower attack speed. So he's garbage. There's not really much to say. Let's jump into the tier list. Let's talk about him. Here's my description on Bruno. Or no, just no. You just don't want him. Gave him a rating of D in campaign. Certainly he's usable if you didn't have anyone else, but only to a certain extent. You'll see dashes. Dashes indicate that you're just not going to use these heroes. So gear raid 1, 2, 3, not using. Arena, Tide, Void Rift, Faction, he's garbage. Guild Boss, D, I guess. If you didn't have anyone else, overall he's a D-. Not really much to say about Bruno, he is trash. Then let's go into Harpoon. Harpoon is actually interesting in this regard. If an enemy is killed by arrow bombardment, which we will discover as his ult, increases attack speed by 90% for 5 seconds. This does go up to a 120 boost to his attack speed, and on his ult he unleashes a volley of 3 arrows towards one enemy target doing 120% damage. This can be scaled up to 150, so that's 450, and he has a very low max rage cap of 300, so you could actually in essence just keep proccing that ult, but it's single target, it doesn't do a lot of damage. Let's go to his max level. You see his attack is very low base attack. He does have a very low cost. Also, I want to point out Bruno is a cost of 19, also making him garbage. His attack interval is nice though at 2 seconds, but his damage is pretty meh. You're not going to get a lot of value out of him. Let's go to the tier ranking. I put not much, too much to say about him. He's the worst fish in the game, right? If you have Razak, you're definitely going to want to use Razak. I gave him a rating of a D in campaign. Usable if you had no one else to fill that role. Gear Raid 1 and 2, you're not using him. Gear Raid 3, sure, again, if you really had no one else. To a certain extent until higher stages. Arena a D, Tide a D, Void Rift a D, Faction D, Guild Boss, you're never using this guy. He's not doing pumping out enough damage. Overall, he's a D. Not really much to say about Harpoon. Let's move along. So next we're going to talk about, Thean. Thean I think is actually quite good. The thing I like about Thean is that he is a CC marksman, so he does provide some crowd control. You'll see after attacking multiple times, 100% damage to one enemy, he hurls a large saber that prioritizes airborne units, throws a spinning blade. This blade deals damage equal to 100%. The blade stays in place, doing AoE damage. And then this is what's really important, his hamstring passive. If blade, hurl, and large saber are triggered when casting hamstring, inflicts slow on surrounding enemies. And this is a hero that it is worth putting some awakenings into. Increases the slow effect of large saber to 75%. That's a very, very high percentage for slow when casting hamstring. Also extending the attack range of his blade when the blades stay in place is quite nice as well. Look at his hero details. Very low base attack, 2941 is not great. Very low cost champion, however, at 11. Attack interval at 2. But he's very solid all around. He is one of the... want to point out what you'd call kind of like the beginning marksman that the game provides you after so many stages you complete. I don't remember. It's been so long since Global at this point. But you have a choice of them giving you Thean, Brienne, Tariel, now Idril, or Tazer. Those are your choices. So we'll look in here. I said underpowered, but he has great CC. And campaign S all day long. He's definitely usable. Even in harder content, you can still use him. His ability to provide CC with the slow is great because it allows your other damage dealers that produce more damage than him to be able to get more attacks off and thereby produce more damage. Gear Raid 1, I put him as a B. Usable to a point. Eventually it gets to a point where his slows are just not enough. Gear Raid, because he's not really doing much damage. Gear Raid 2, I put him as a C. Gear Raid 3 and A, he's solid. I put him down in the back line, right behind the Nexus Crystal, to give a little extra time if I focused one of my heroes facing towards the Nexus Crystal, so he can slow them down and maybe get that last couple hits in to kill an enemy that makes the difference between 3-starring stage or not, because they've got to your Nexus Crystal. Arena, I put him as an A, solid because of the slows, a little bit of damage. Tide A, Void Rift C, A+ in faction, very solid in faction. Of course, he's Star Piercer, and in my opinion, Star Piercer is the easiest faction trial to complete. Guild Boss, I gave him a B rating. Not bad, not great, but he's usable. And overall, I gave him a B. All right, moving right along. Let's go to the next one. And the next one's going to be Tazer. Tazer's damage is very meh. Not much to say about Tazer. 2941 basic attack is extremely low. She is a low cost at 11. Attack interval at 2. So that's good. But the big thing with her ult, unleashes a volley of arrows at random targets and range, 6 seconds, initial hit, inflicts 108% damage to each target, subsequent strikes dealing 4% damage. The multipliers are not great. She doesn't really do that much damage. There's not really a lot to say. Even the attack speed that she gets from passive by 10 up to 70 is not great. It might enable you to reduce your attack interval by maybe 0.3 of a second. It's not really that big a deal. It's not that impactful. Don't really feel like a need to go into her awakenings, to be perfectly honest. She's just mad. Like her damage isn't great. Out of the beginning marksman that the game could choose for you, she is the worst of the 4, in my opinion. I put that she has mad damage. She is the worst starter marksman. Enough said. Campaign, sure, she's usable. Gave her a C. 1 and 2 Gear Raid, absolutely not. Her damage is just not good enough. Gear Raid 3, usable if you didn't have anyone else to fill another marksman slot, but she falls off in the harder stages because her damage just isn't enough. Arena D, C for Tide, Void Rift B, Faction C, Guild Boss D, again, usable if you had no one else. Overall, I gave her a C. Pretty simple, cut and dry. Her damage just isn't enough. And then we'll settle on the final three. These are the ones I wanted to talk and go a little bit more in depth to, because these are the best in my opinion. And we're going to start with, let's go Brienne. Brienne is absolutely solid. Solid hero all around, does very nice damage. Let's talk about her a little bit. One really cool thing on her basic is that when she deals this 100%, up to 110% damage with skill ups, airborne units are prioritized and take an extra hit. So they automatically take an extra hit from her basic, which is great. Her multi-shot is manually activated. It's a very short duration. I wish it was a little bit longer. But shoots 6 waves of arrows, each wave attacking up to 5 enemies, doing 120% AoE damage. Airborne units take extra damage, that's quite a bit of damage. Increased skill ups, very nice. Every 8 seconds, the next arrow shot splits. The main arrow deals damage equal to 125 of attack, while each of the side arrows deals 110. Airborne units take extra damage. So look at her hero details, you'll see that she is extremely low for base attack as well. 2862 is not great. Her cost at 11 makes her inexpensive to put out on the field to deploy, and her attack intervals too. But here's the thing, she is definitely a prime candidate to put soul stones into. Her first awakening really makes a big difference. During the effect of multi-shot, which is her alt, Brienne gains 30% physical penetration. This is absolutely big. Split shot damage plus 20 at A3 and A5, number of arrows in split shot plus 1. Her damage is quite good, and honestly, it's certainly better than Tazer. It's certainly better than Thean, and to be honest, it's better than Tauriel. Tauriel, though, we'll talk about her shortly, and why I love her so much. Her damage isn't on par with Brienne, but she brings other stuff to the table that just makes her amazing. So let's go into her tier list rating, and we're going to talk about her description. Multi-hitter with solid damage. I gave her an S in campaign, absolutely usable throughout, harder difficulties included. Gear Raid 1, not really, because you really need more magic damage. Gear Raid 2, I gave her a D. You're not really going to use her there. Gear Raid 3, though, she is very, very good. S rating all the way. Arena A, because you can put her on left side, right side, middle. She just does pretty good to hold down a lane. Arena, I gave her an A. Tide, I gave her an A. Void Rift, I gave her a B. Faction S, again, Star Piercers. Really, really easy faction trial to complete. And in Guild Boss, I gave her a C. Overall rating for her is an A+. I gave her a C because keep in mind that, yes, she is doing single target damage. That's what you want, versus AoE to focus the damage as a single nuke against the boss. But her damage is going to pale in comparison. Like, would you choose her over Silas? Absolutely not. Silas is a monster. They're on a whole different tier, legendary versus epic. So that would be Brienne. And now let's talk about my boy Maul. God, I love me some Maul. Maul is absolutely a game changer. Why is he a game changer, Lawrence? Let's go into his hero details first. His attack is not great at base, 3053, but his cost is very expensive. However, more on that shortly. His attack interval at 3.5 is quite high too, so you will want to put speed on this guy to make him attack faster. But why is he so good? His basic attack is AoE. He attacks multiple enemies up to 110% damage. Also, his manually activated alt is bonkers, does a lot of damage. Also, it has a knockback effect, so kind of like a little bit of a CC with a knockback. And I believe the skill's up to, I think, 900% damage. Every 25 seconds extends the attack range. Each attack deals 150 damage, and basic attack can now inflict defense reduction. I believe he and only one other epic in the entire game, who I think it's Estrid, are the only ones that provide this defense reduction. On the enemies for 3 seconds, the effect lasts for 8 seconds. With skill ups, it does go up a little bit more. Let's go into his awakenings. He's another prime candidate for your soul stones because they just really make him that much better. Abyssal Surge now inflicts a freeze, so some CC as well, aside from knocking enemies back. A3 Salt Erosion also inflicts slow. This is so big. And then cost -5. Like I said, we would discuss his cost. Yes, he's a 22 cost, but if you had soul stones into him, you can reduce his cost from 22 to 17. So let's go to my tier list here and let's talk about him. So he is absolutely a crusher. He's an AoE CC with defense down, which is extremely rare. His cost is high, but I wanted to specify that it can be reduced at A5. Campaign, he's S+ all day long. You can use him throughout hard content as well, because the thing is, he himself does great damage. Like, he does quite a bit of damage, but the fact that he's slowing enemies, freezing them, if you're getting his awakenings, makes him that much better, because he's also and defense down, he's also allowing your other damage dealers to pump out more damage. So he's also quite helpful to his team. Gear Raid 1, I gave him an S. He's absolutely solid because of the things I mentioned with producing more damage, allowing your heroes to do more damage in your team comp. Gear Raid 2, I gave him a C. Usable, but certainly better options. Gear Raid 3, he's S+ all day long. You can put him on the left side, you can put him on the right side, you can put him in the middle. He's going to hold down a lane for you quite well, even at higher stages, 119 and beyond. Arena, he's an A. Tide, he's an A+. Void Rift, I gave him an A as well. And in Faction, S. The only downside, the knock on him, is that he's Northerner. If he was Star Piercer, my God, giving him extended range would just make him so much better. In Guild Boss, I gave him a D. And the reason why is because, again, you're trying to focus single target damage. He is an AoE monster, but you want single target damage to produce the best effects against a Guild Boss. Overall, though, he's an S. He's S all day long. And then finally, ladies and gentlemen, we come to my girl, Toriel, or Idril, sorry, formerly known as Idril. And why is she so damn good? Let's go in, we'll check her hero details, which aren't great. 29.99 base attack, low cost 11, attack interval 2 seconds. But why is she so good? Let's look at her basic. Each attack deals 70% attack damage 2 times. Target airborne enemies first. That goes up to another 10%, so 106% damage, not bad. But this is where she absolutely shines, is in her ult, which is manually activated. Limitless shots. It does have a very high max rage cap. Keep that in mind at 1200. The attack range becomes unlimited. Attacks a single enemy 3 times, each time doing 70% attack damage. The effect lasts for 15 seconds. You'll see through skill ups, you can increase that by an additional 10 seconds. This is crazy because it allows her to snipe like a sniper any enemy on the map, anywhere they're at. How many times that has saved me from the ability to 3-star a stage to not 3-star a stage, because she was able to kill that last enemy before they were able to get to my Nexus Crystal. If that was the parameter, that I couldn't let them touch the Nexus Crystal. Like, she is absolutely fantastic throughout the game. I think she is the absolute best epic marksman in the game, and she is a prime candidate to put soul stones into. Increase basic attacks damage by 10%. Let's jump to 3. Using limitless shots recovers rage for allies at 5% of the rage caps. A little bit of help to her allies. And then Awaken 5. And I'm fortunate enough to have Awaken 5. If you are out there and you have an Awaken 5 Toriel, you know how impactful this is. During the effect of limitless shots, every kill extends its duration by 3 seconds. I have literally seen her, when I've popped her ult, make her ult last for like 45 seconds. So this is no joke. Now, I will say the one knock on her is that you wish that she would prioritize certain enemies at times. It seems like she'll prioritize enemies you don't want her to, that you would rather, oh man, you need to take that enemy down. So that kind of can be like a kind of disappointing. But you can't deny the extended range that she has, or rather the unlimited range she has, just makes her an absolute goddess. Let's go into her rating, talk about her description. Sniper with unlimited range on her ult. Campaign all day long, S+. I gave you an example how she can kill enemies clear across the map. Gear Raid 1, you're not using her. Gear Raid 2, usable, but she does fall off higher stages. She's a C. Gear Raid 3, she's a goddess, absolute goddess. I put her in the front line with my Silas, and even on a GR3-19, which we know is pretty hard content, she combined with Silas, 1 ult apiece, they pretty much kill Zilla 2 on 1 ult. Arena, she's an S, she's absolutely a god. Tide, she's an S. Void Rift, she's an A. Faction, she's an S+. Again, Star Piercers, she's amazing. Guild Boss, she's an A. I use her, but when you get to higher content, as far as the higher difficulty of the Guild Boss, you'd prefer to use someone in her place like a Silas, who is a killer of Guild Bosses. And overall, I gave her an S+. I do want to point out before I end this video that you'll find that a lot of content creators would specifically save an S+ as God tier based on they excel in every single area. I actually look at it from a different perspective, and my perspective is they don't have to excel in every area. As you see, Gear Raid 1, I've listed her as just really not usable because you're really wanting to focus magic damage, not single target marksman damage. But it's the areas that she excels in that makes her so damn good, and why, in my opinion, she's the only one I can give an S+ to, because she is an absolute goddess in faction. She's an absolute goddess in campaign, and an absolute goddess in a GR3 and arena. Tied, solid all around, an amazing hero. Guys, I appreciate the hell out of each and every one of you guys for stopping by. This has been my list. If you found the list helpful, informative, please do smash the like button. Also subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, to enable this channel to continue to grow, and make sure you leave comments. I'm always happy and eager to read people's comments to see what they think about these lists that I put together. Keep it locked right here at Lawrence's Let's Plays for additional Watcher of Realms content coming your way real soon, including those additional epic tier lists. My name's Lawrence from Lawrence's Let's Plays, and I am out of here. Take care, everybody. Have a terrific day.